because I have to leave shortly. I'm going to leave my computer sitting here and on, but Peter's kind of in charge of what's happening, and Tanya is going to take over as the managing things for me this afternoon. But I was at the Bodnerick Celebration of Life. So this is what the Life Transitions put out for Rick Bodnerick. I was a little bit surprised because Rick's got significant weight on that he did not have in the last couple of years. So he caught me by surprise a little bit with that. But it was a very interesting celebration of life. They limited it to, their initial contact had been with Tony and Jennifer, and then myself. So we got an invitation. And then Andy Watson got an invitation as he was the sponsor into Rotary, and Barry Fraser got an invitation just because he's kind of a Mr. Rotary for us. And so the five of us were there there were people from like way up north, as well as Los Angeles and things like that. So the event was very interesting. And as in our comments last week, I had mentioned that Rick was a little bit hard to follow in his conversation sometime. Well, they all said their piece, and then they kind of looked at the back row where we were sitting and said, did anybody else want to say anything? And the two people on the right of me, which might have been the Hills, and the two people on the left of me that were Fraser and Watson, both looked to the center. And I thought, so I proceeded up without any notes or anything. And I did happen to say that Rick's conversations left us in the dark a little bit. And I looked out and everybody in the room was shaking their head and agreeing. And I was really surprised. And then when I got to the house later, his son came up to me and thanked me very much for saying the words, and especially thanked me for saying what they called the Rickisms. So they, as many did, sometimes had a hard time following the conversation, but the son Warren was very good to explain to me how he would handle that with his father. So it was an interesting and a very nice tribute to Rick. One of the other things that surprised me was his taste in music. They played the Rolling Stones, they played Bob Dylan, and they also played Leonard Cohen. So, you know, some of the people that I really like, and I didn't realize Rick and I had that in common as well. So, Tanya, if you're ready, I'll turn it over to you, and I wish everybody good luck as I've got to depart for another function. And I apologize, Carolyn, but any questions, fire them to Peter, and he'll do his best to make sure he can direct you from afar.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Brett. So as Brett said, thank you everyone for joining us today, and a big thank you to Carolyn Beacroft for joining us, and she'll be more thoroughly introduced by Diane in a little bit. Excuse me, sorry. So we'll start off just with if anyone wants to do happy thoughts. Anybody? I'm happy the library's dry today. How about that? That's a good one. Oh, Barry, you have something?
Yes, I just came in a bit late here, but I did hear Brett speaking to the celebration of life of Rick, and this was handed out at that service. I thought that Brett did an excellent job representing the interests and the memories of Rotary over to Rick, and likewise over to us. And it was very well presented, I felt.
Great, thanks very much. Jennifer?
I echo what Barry and Brett said. It was a really terrific service. But I wanted to mention the Eco Trail. It has been resurfaced or was in process of being resurfaced. And that trail is such an asset for people like me who don't like walking on the sidewalk or on steep slopes, or can imagine from Toronto, don't like steep slopes anymore. But it's an easy walk and very comfortable place to be.
That's great. Thanks very much. If there aren't any more, I'll move ahead to celebrating birthdays. So we want to send out a special happy birthday to Jane Frost. Her birthday was yesterday. Monica Rambour is this month. Carl Varoba, and our Brett Smith his birthday is on the 24th. So we can catch him next week. We have some club anniversaries to celebrate. Bob Rankin, our honorary member, is 12 years with the club. Terry Smith, 5 years on September 28th. So that's fantastic. Brett left me some notes, so I'll just go over these fairly quickly. The shelter box campaign to date, we've raised the club $2,400, and there's more checks coming in. Together with the $1,250 that the club is bringing in, we are at $3,300 so far, so that's fantastic. He wanted me to mention some upcoming events. That includes September 25th, the District 6380 Watershed Cleanup event. And Barry has confirmed we are to meet 9 a.m. at the Armory. So that's good. We are returning to Links of Kent for lunch on October 6th. As per the provincial mandatory vaccine mandate, we will need proof of double vaccination to end. October 8th is the Sons of Kent Pints for Polio Farmers Market. Should be fun. October 13th is our Rotary night at Sons of Kent, and our district clubs be all coming together for Pints for Polio, and we all know about that from listening to Dave Choir a few weeks back. And then Pizza for Polio is expected to be for October 20th. And last but certainly not least is we're looking for some volunteers to help our Rotary TV bingo. You don't have to be on the air. We need creators and deliverers, uppers, and people to work behind the scenes as well. I know not everyone's comfortable being on the actual television. We are, and this is Brett's words, and I agree with him, we're desperately in need of a new treasurer. So what I would ask is that if you know somebody who might be a great treasurer, maybe drag them to a meeting, and we can maybe sweet talk them somehow to being our treasurer. The books are in standing. Bruce is in great shape, but we do need someone who has the skills to take that on. Having just got off a committee where I was the treasurer for 2 years, I can resoundingly state that person is not me. I don't have that skill set. So with that in mind, that's it. Anything else? I will ask Diane McGuigan. She is going to introduce our guest speaker today, Carolyn Beacroft.
Hi, I'm having quite a bit of trouble keeping a feed. It keeps freezing on me. So if at some point I take the video off, sometimes that strengthens the signal. So if I disappear and you just hear me talking, that's what's happened. Pleasure to introduce Carolyn, although it really should be that sister-in-law of mine, who's the one that's traipsed all over Great Britain with Lynn looking at tapestries. But she's, today we're always confused, but not today when she's on the golf course. No one ever would confuse me for Janet if I was on the golf course. Anyway, I've known Lynn for, I think, about 40 years, maybe longer, because even before I moved to Chatham, I had dealings with St. Clair College. So I probably have known her for even more than that, even though we were very young at the time, clearly, like maybe 5, right? Lynn was, this is just off the top of my head, but we're in the age of people to just say anything anyway. Nothing has to be verified or true or right. So I'm just going to make it up as I go. Anyway, Lynn was initially a teacher, but then she worked in the same department as I did for years. She did many, many things. She was labor market information specialist, but more particularly, she did most of our immigration settlement. And Lynn has been to more, weddings and funerals for, newcomers to Canada than probably the Prime Minister. Anyway, that's not what she's here to talk about. Sort of a best kept secret, I think, about Lynn. Lynn was, I always knew that she did quilting, and she's got a whole history of quilting, and she's president of this and editor of some kind of national magazine. She can tell you about it better than I can. But she's just an exquisite needleworker. Just unbelievable stuff. Like it could be hung in, some gallery someplace. So anyway, she's extremely good at this. But this has nothing to do with what she's going to talk about today. And I won't spend much more time talking about it, except to say that I do take credit for sourcing the artist for her. So with much more ado, Lynn Beacroft.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Diane. Now, how do I get the PowerPoint up here?
Okay, at the bottom of your screen, there should be a little green share screen button.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And you click that, and then it gives you shows you all the various windows and things that are up in your screen. You have to click on whatever you want on the PowerPoint slide.
There it is.
You've got it.
Okay, good, good. Well, thank you, Diane. You were very polite. Thank you. Well, I guess I better start with who we are, because I think we're probably one of the best kept secrets in Southwestern Ontario. We're the Tulip Tree Needle Arts Guild, and we have members from London, where I live, all the way to Windsor. And we're members of, we're the member guild of the Embroiderers Association of Canada, which Diane referred to, and we have a national magazine. The needlework that we do is rather unique, and it's probably best to describe it as traditional needlework, but with a modern spin. It's just, as I say, not your grandmother's needlework. So this talk may seem a little bit disjointed, because this event that I'm going to talk about that we're holding in Chatham, it's the 20th anniversary of our guild. And so we have needlework art done by local craftspersons in Southwestern Ontario. But also in 2016, I was in Toronto to see the Scottish Diaspora Tapestry, which is 305 panels that represent the Scottish people who went forth all over the world and populated the world. And it seems that, when the clearances happened in Scotland in the, excuse me, in the 1700s, the Scots emigrated everywhere. And one of the, well, there are 37 panels, or there were 37 panels on Canada. So I came back and talked to our needleworkers, because we have done some community projects. And I suggested we do one on the Baldoon settlement, which is local in Chatham-Kent. And then it seemed to move along at warp speed, and suddenly the international group in Scotland offered me the 37 panels to show here for our 20th anniversary. So we were quite thrilled about this, and so we agreed. And then I spent a lot of sleepless nights worrying about where I was going to put 37 panels and just how we were going to do this, but it seems to be falling into place. In any event, the exhibit is October 12th to 29th, Monday to Saturday, 12 noon to 4 p.m. in the Rotary Lounge in the Capitol Theatre. And the opening is October 12th, 1 to 8 p.m. So you're invited, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm just going to talk about some of the things we've done. We've done some community projects over the last 20 years. I didn't bring them all, but 10 years ago, we had our 10th anniversary, and we had it at the Chatham-Kent Museum. And we did this ginkgo leaves for them and had it framed and gave it to the museum. And then we did this tapestry here, baby animals, which we donated to the Ronald McDonald House in Windsor. And then the first one, this is actually the first one we did, was the alphabet. And it was donated to the Ronald McDonald House in London. So the needlework's put on a frame, and the group just passes the work around, and they agree to do whatever whatever section they want. We've had projects we've given to the Women's Center in Chatham and the Children's Aid and Habitat for Humanity. So we're not novices at doing tapestry. So in 2018, we decided to do a tapestry in coordination with the organization in Scotland. And a diaspora is a scattering of people throughout the world. And a tapestry is a textile. And here is one of the ones showing the Orkney men who went to Rupert's, Western Canada, Rupert's Land. And then we have one here. I think this is coming ashore at in Cape Breton. And this is the Settler's Lament. That's quite colorful, really. And then I put this one in. This is Argentina, just to give you an idea. Here are the Scott is the father of Argentinian football. And I think probably if you follow any of these soccer games, you'll find that the UK and Argentina are always facing off internationally. So it was actually a Scot that started the Argentinians on this. And then I thought this one was kind of interesting. Simon Fraser is one of the 38 panels now with ours. So as Diane mentioned, she found me, a marvelous young woman from Blenheim, Catherine McFadden she was then, and now Catherine Stinson. And here, Catherine and I met several times in Chatham to talk about the design of the tapestry. Some of you may recognize this as Janet McGuigan's living room. And thank you, Janet, for helping out and giving us a place to meet. And here's the sketch that she presented to me, and we accepted. So then we moved on to putting it on fabric and working on the tapestry. The lady who's working on the tapestry there actually grew up in Wallaceburg on the river. And she tells me that when she was a little kid, she went out on the river and fell and got a concussion on the ice. And so she said she thought she knew the river best of all, unfortunately. So this is a picture of some of the work that's been done here of the tapestry. And I have to mention here that one of your members did all these lovely little sheep in a rather tricky stitch, and that's Karen McDonald. So thank you very much, Karen, wherever you are on this. And then here we have the final tapestry. And it represents the 104 people who came to what is in Dover Township now, the Baldoon Settlement. And this is the ship they came on. Now, the interpretation that how Catherine saw the story is here you have Lord Selkirk, and he's looking to the left with a dream. He has this idea of a fertile land with sheep and grass where the settlers can live and farm. And in 1802, when he saw the site in Dover, it was quite acceptable. It was very dry. Unfortunately, that year, the Great Lakes were at their lowest level ever recorded. And by 1804, when the settlers arrived, it had reverted back to marsh. I think most of you know about Dover and the marshes. So in the first month, they arrived the 1st of September, 1804, their first month in Canada, 7 people died of malaria. And these mosquitoes here represent the 7 who died of malaria. And then around the outside is the date they came, and the date it was finally wound up, 1818. Within a few months, they decamped to a higher ground, which was Wallaceburg, where there weren't any malarial mosquitoes. And you've got the various places where they started out, Kirkcaldy, Tobermory, and then all the way around to Wallaceburg. And here you have the bodies of water. The Atlantic Ocean is darkest because one of the settlers did die on the crossing in the Atlantic. And the goose here represents an interesting story. You may or may not know the story. I'm not very clear on it myself, but it has to do with a feud that was going on between 2 families, and there were mysterious happenings, and they consulted with a seer, another Scottish lady who had second sight, and she told them to shoot with a silver bullet a goose that arrived in their backyard, and they did. And the lady who was against them in this feud, the next day she had a broken arm. So it's all very mysterious, and it's an interesting story, and I think they have a diorama about it at the Wallaceburg Museum. So that's the story of how we came to getting the 37 panels. Our tapestry was accepted by the International Committee, and it will go back to Scotland and be part of that display. Then when last November, when we finished it, I wrote to them and I sent them the information on the tapestry and the picture. They wrote back and said, you've been accepted, and send it along right away. And I said, well, we'd like to keep it for our 20th anniversary, and that's next October. Well, like we're in the middle of a pandemic, but the fellow over there, he said, well, I'll send you the other 37 so you can have a really big exhibit. So come the end of November last year, we're into a big lockdown. And I was really concerned about where I was going to park all this. But everything's worked out fine. And certainly the Capitol Theater, the Rotary Lounge, thank you very much, is just the right place. So I can't get out of talking about this without talking about our needlework. And Diane pointed out that we do some pretty spectacular stuff, and I think it is. But some of these things will be on display. I'm particularly fond of this one. We call her Party Girl. And this one was the poster child for the exhibit 10 years ago. And then we got some other stuff here. This one will be in the exhibit, and maybe this one. The witch will be in for sure. Everybody at the Capitol seems to like the witch. So in conclusion, I'd like to say thanks to the stitchers. I'd like to say thank you to Catherine Stinson, the artist, who, if you ever want an artist or you want to meet a lovely young woman, Catherine's your girl. Heather Slater, the manager of arts and culture and the Capitol Theater, saw the vision, and she's been very helpful, and I'm really pleased that everything's falling into place there. Phil Vanderwall, who's the curator at Chatham Kent Cultural Center, and the person who will probably do all the work in setting it up, has been really great. I want to thank Karen McDonald, her help has made me feel so much better, because Karen's in charge of fundraising. And sometimes I'd wake up in the morning and think, well, how are we ever going to pay for all this? But Karen, she's so nice. People just can't refuse to give her money. So thank you, Karen, if you're listening. And so thank you very much for inviting me here to talk to you. Keep the date. Come and see us in the Rotary Lounge, Capitol Theater, October 12th, 29th. And on the 12th, we're opening 1 to 8 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. We were lucky enough, and I forget what year, but Tulip Tree Needle Arts, they actually did a display in our Chatham brand as well. So I've had a chance to see a lot of this up close and personal, and it is gorgeous. Stunning work. It's amazing what people can do. I wanted to let the club know that I have purchased a book called The Scottish Diaspora Tapestry. It's the second edition. It's going to be purchased. Our Rotary Club is going to pay for it, and it's going to live at the library. So it must be the slowest boat ever, because I still haven't received it yet. And we ordered it back, I think August 10th. Anyway, it will be coming. I hope everybody can go. I actually, while you were speaking, Carolyn, I put it into my calendar so I don't forget. Next week, we have Walter Hoogman coming to speak to us from Blackburn News. And I was remiss, I forgot one last thing. Jennifer and Tony have heard from Rick Bodnarik's family from afar and hoping to get some assistance. They may be having an estate sale at the house in October, and they may need some volunteer to work a few hours. They don't have anything firmed up yet, but Tony Hill is the contact. And so if you think you might be able to help out, just let Tony know, and we'll give you probably more details later on. Tony, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, just we should know what we're doing in 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
And the reason that we're making this appeal is that there are the online auctioneers are all booked up until next year. There isn't a sort of a real estate house moving helper here in Chatham. I don't know what happened. We used to have one, but anyway, there isn't anybody else that we can ask. So we had this appeal, and we'll know for sure in 3 or 4 days.
I'm sure you'll have some volunteers. Okay, I think unless anybody else has anything to add, Karen?
Yes, I'd just like to say yes. Yes, Carolyn, I did hear your comments, and thank you for your kind words. I just wanted you to know that Yvonne, Rob, and myself worked on the sheet. We sort of split them up, and we had fun doing that. I really love doing those sheets. And yes, if anybody wants to donate to the group, just let me know. You know where I am. So thank you very much, Carolyn.
And I am sorry. Yeah, I should have checked to see. I'm so out of practice. See if the club had any questions. So I'll go Diane, and then I see Karen.
I'm not on mute, right?
You're fine.
Okay. I actually had meant to mention when I was introducing Carolyn that this isn't her first time at Rotary. She got money out of us a number of years ago to frame or to preserve, I guess. You could talk more about this.
To conserve.
Carolyn came upon it's a long story that she knows way better than I do, but a sampler that had connections to this community, and in conjunction with the Black Historical Association, preserved the sampler and did many things with it. And it's gone all over the place talking about it. But she did get a little bit of money out of Rotary. That was maybe she'll get more now, actually.
Oh, good.
Anyway, that was all.
Karen?
Yes, thank you, Tanya. I just wanted to ask Carolyn about the call for volunteers. You said that you might need some help with the exhibit.
Yes.
Can you give us a little bit of an idea of what you're looking for?
Well, we're open in the afternoons, and as you know, the Rotary Lounge is kind of a floor down from the main doors, and there's an elevator. And our girls are going to be doing demonstrations during the show of the various types of needlework. But I would like somebody as a greeter, like a Walmart greeter, to be at the front door of the Capitol and greet people and show them where the elevator is and how to get down to see the exhibit. So I would be very pleased to hear from anyone who would be willing to spend an afternoon greeting for me. I really would appreciate that. We're a very small group.
So how do we get a hold of you, Carolyn?
Well, I can, I'll give you my main phone line,
Okay.
519
Yep.
473 0335. And that's my home.
Okay.
And then now Moira will have my email address, and Karen. And so if you want to get in touch with me by email, that's fine too.
Okay. I'll probably give you a call and just go through my calendar with you to see if there's a time that might work.
Oh, that'd be terrific. Yes, I'd really appreciate that. Mhm. Anyone else want to come?
What is the time frame? Like, is it from 1 to 8, Monday to, like Tuesday to work?
12 to 4.
Oh, 12 to 4, okay.
Every day except the opening, which is 1 to 8. But I have the opening covered because we all want to be at the opening.
And no Sundays.
No Sundays. No, a Saturday, but no Sundays.
Okay. All right. I'll give you a call.
Well, that's really great. Thank you.
Jennifer?
I have the email address as well if anybody needs it.
Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. So I think we know we can get to Jennifer, Karen, or Moira, one way or the other.
Well, I think you would have it too when you.
Yes, I would if you somewhere in that old inbox. Yes. Is there any other questions? I'm sorry, I barreled forward too quickly there. Jennifer?
I'd like to know how you decide who does what. And how many people does it take to put a tapestry together? Sort of.
Yeah, I think it took about 8 or 10. Who does what? It's a volunteer, and it seems to fall into place. As Karen said, she shared the little sheep with another girl who were particularly good at that stitch, and it appealed to them. Otherwise, people just say, well, I'll do the hull of the ship, or I did the sail. It's just a democratic process. We did ask for people to come from the community, anybody who might have an interest in working on it. There were a couple of people who did set a few stitches, and the lady you saw in the picture, she did a fair bit. Another lady who had come from Scotland herself did a bit on it. And she said to me, isn't it interesting, I ended up in the same area as those people 200 years ago.
Mm.
And then the lady who did the goose actually is an immigrant. She was born in England, raised in South Africa, and now lives here in London. So it appealed to some of the people who were immigrants.
Do you test everybody before you let them near it?
We had a practice piece, and yes, yes, we did. And one of the ladies who worked on the one from Manitoba told me, just let them stitch. And then when you take it home that night, just take it out and do it right. I'm not going to
Karen,
tell you whether I did that or not.
I don't know. Karen McDonald, do you have a question? I thought I saw your hand wave.
Oh, I might have been just,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
and no, it's okay. No, thanks.
Moira. Okay.
Yes, I was just wondering the same kind of line as Jennifer. If you want to join the tulip heart or tulip needlework group, do you test people before you let them in, or do you teach them once they're in if they come along?
Well, we don't do any testing. Most people who show an interest in it have done some sort of technique. They're just, well, a lot of techniques. So most of them will see some of our stuff and say, gee, I'd like to do that. And they've been just doing traditional things that their mothers taught them how to do, you know.
Mhm.
So, but they want to expand. So no, we don't do any testing, but we have, through the national organizations, a lot of classes. So the girls are doing classes all the time. And we have a seminar once a year where you can go and learn some really advanced stuff, which is really a very, very good opportunity.
Carolyn, do you know if the younger generation is getting more involved with the needle arts? I only ask because my daughter-in-law is really, she's trying to learn. She has books and she got some samplers she's working on, and just curious.
Yeah, I'm not, well, I'm not getting an idea of how it's going right now. I know a lot of people are interested in it, but you know, if you work and you've got kids and everything, it's hard to find the time, and it is time consuming. And the other thing is, you really got to have a good eyesight, good glasses.
Diane?
My daughter-in-law as well. And in fact, even though she's, very pregnant right now with one little toddler running around, every now and then she finds a few minutes, and she says it's just incredibly therapeutic. And she's been doing freehand needlework, which is quite impressive, really, sort of teaching herself. So that's partly another answer to the next generation.
Yeah, yeah. I think just to go back a bit, there is an increased interest in preserving traditional crafts. Now, I've been taking a course with a native lady up at near Erin, Ontario, and we're doing everything the way the native ladies would have done it, and it's been really interesting. So that's, I think there's a lot of interest in in preserving traditional crafts.
Carolyn,
Yeah.
do you have that piece that you're working on now near you?
Oh, I do, Sharon. They're bad.
Yeah,
Well, just a minute. I'll go and get it. I'll show
that's
you.
quite nice.
Actually, one of the things I can't believe is Carolyn and I are sort of the same vintage, very, very young, really. But I mean, I can barely see the screen that I'm looking at my laptop, and she does this just incredibly intricate. Like I don't know how she possibly does it with her eye, with what kind of eyesight she's got that I don't.
I don't know quite. Can you see it there?
Yeah, I can see it. Hold it up a little more. So that's going to be a bag or a purse? That's
Yes, this is just the front. The back is the same thing.
Oh my God.
and it's beading. It is beading mostly,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's all native beading.
It's stunning. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm pleased with how it's worked out, but that represents about a month of really steady work. Of course, when you're in a lockdown, it's not so hard.
Too true.
Karen?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, Carolyn, that my father took up needlework. He was a civil engineer, and he took up needlework in retirement and used to do all of the Christmas cards. My mom did the calligraphy. My dad did the needlework, and we always got a themed birthday card or Christmas card with needlework. And I have his whole collection that I'm trying to figure out what to do with. I've got it in a 3-ring binder right now in photo sleeves, but I'd be happy to show it to you sometime. I'm very proud of what they used to do.
Yes, I'd love to see it.
Project.
Yeah, we have National Archive of Needlework, the Embroiderers Association of Canada. So they might be interested in it. Yeah, well, believe it or not, there are people in prisons in the United States that have needlework guilds.
Yeah,
men and women in the United States.
I think Barry had a question.
Yes.
And then
well,
Charlie.
Well, now speaking of men and women, my youngest brother, who's 10 years younger than me, and like Diane, I'm quite young. He does needlepoint. So I'm just asking, to what degree are there guys in your guild, Carolyn?
We haven't had anyone volunteer to come join us, but the one I belong to in Michigan has a couple of men in it, both of them teachers. And like you say, it's kind of therapeutic.
Darlene?
I was just going to mention that when my grandfather was in the war, he was injured in Italy, and he actually was taught needlepoint at the hospital to keep them busy, to keep their minds busy, and they didn't get bored. And so my grandfather did needlework when I was younger, and he had many pieces, and I don't know who has them now, but they taught him needlework in the hospital in Italy. So
yeah, when we had that exhibit at the museum 10 years ago, somebody in Chatham, well, we had it broken into 2 parts. We had some traditional needlework from the community, and then we had our own. And somebody gave us a piece of needlework that had been done by a German prisoner of war who'd been in the camp on, can't think of the name of the road. It's out Charing Cross Road. There had been a prisoner of war camp, and the Germans were there, and this man did it because this Canadian fellow used to come and organize them for baseball in the summer, and he gave it to him as the thanks for coaching their ball team. So yes, a lot of men do it. There was a priest in Chatham, Kent who did it. I don't know who he was, but I remember meeting him one time years ago.
Well, that's nice. Karen?
Yes, I'm sorry, I had to answer a phone call. Did anybody mention the knitting that the sailors used to do? They would mend their socks, they would knit their socks and sweaters, like, because they had to. Did anybody mention that? Like, this was going back many years ago. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's a cool act for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And traditionally in Britain, you have a lot of needlework going back to Elizabethan times. And these were professions. These were men who did it. And before that, it was people in monasteries who did all of this, like embellishing the books and also doing the hangings for the churches. So, yeah. We're an equal opportunity group, but nobody's come.
Well, you never know. After your exhibition at the Capitol Theater there in the Rotary Lounge, you might get a few new people enlisting. Okay. Anything else for Carolyn or for the good of Rotary? And I think otherwise I'll get Julia to do O Canada for us. We're coming to our 1 o'clock. Oh, there we go. Thanks very much, Julia. Well, thank you, guys. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.